at it, Don Jr., on Halloween, kids literally go door to door to get free candy from the neighbors because the kids don't have it and the neighbors do. That's socialism.
And what democratic socialism is about is saying that it is immoral and wrong that the top 0.1% in this country own almost 90%, own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%.
I grew up in Canada, okay? We have socialized medicine. And I'm here to tell you that this line that you get on all of the political shows from people is that it's a failure. The system is a failure in Canada. It is not a failure in Canada. We have to say yes to socialism, to the word and everything.
It seems like everywhere we turn these days, there's a clamoring for socialism, whether from leading academics or from Hollywood stars, limousine liberals, if you will, who generously want to share other people's wealth.
In the movies, the themes are that capitalism is bad, it's evil. The free market system is evil. The wealthy are the greedy rich.
As secularism replaces faith in America, we become less free and more socialistic. In other words, the government is controlling more things, and things are controlled from the top down rather than the bottom up. You have central decision makers. That hasn't worked any time in history. It always results in some form of tyranny. And while you think it would unite people, what it does when you begin to force uniformity, you create division.
In short, with socialism, the state replaces God. But the Bible says God alone is God, and we should worship and love Him above all, and not the state nor anything else.
The problem with government overreach and replacing the church is that they are replacing then a real significant part of mankind, a need, a vacuum that we all have to reach and find God.
But some people will point to the Bible and say, doesn't it teach socialism in certain passages? Before he died, this ministry caught up with Chuck Colson, best-selling Christian author and commentator, to ask about the scriptures and economics.
Does Christianity lead to socialism, or are free market economies and free economies more consistent with the biblical model? I don't think the Bible teaches socialism in the slightest. Free democratic societies rest on a three-legged stool: economic freedom, political freedom, moral restraint. What's gone wrong in American society today is that the moral restraint has collapsed. So you've got two-legged stools and they don't stand up. I think the government has an obligation to try to help people who are in need. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Not at the expense of private institutions. We're close to where 50% of everything is being done by government. When it's more than that, you're finished. So we're perilously close to that. We've got to start promoting things that create free minds and free markets and free people, not constrict them.
I think one of the things that happens when government gets so large is people get lazy. They expect the government to take care of everything. They're no longer relying on their family or their community or their church. They rely on the big hand of government that can give and take away. So there's no more reliance. It corresponds, I think, the growth in government to the breakdown in family and also the collapse of the church as a vital institution in America.
Socialism is scary. It's a soft form of communism. So free this, free that. Ultimately, there's a big price to pay. Socialism is not what we want in this country. Look what happened to Venezuela.
The Bible says we should love our neighbor. Is it really loving our neighbor to wish on them a socialistic economic system like that in Venezuela or Cuba?
And if you want a modern example of why socialism doesn't work and what it produces, look at Venezuela. Venezuela was one of the most affluent countries in Latin America. It is now a complete basket case. The Bible tells us a great deal about the nature of man, which is pretty basic. And the nature of man is, according to Jeremiah, the heart of man is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? If we're going to talk about trying to minimize poverty and to try to help those who are poor, the capitalist system produces more pies. Then you can have a discussion about how to divide the pie. But all socialism does is end up in an endless argument about how to more equitably distribute a never-growing pie. Capitalism grows pies. And when you grow pies, then you can have a discussion about how you distribute the pies.
Critics note that a major reason socialism is not Christian is because it violates the command, thou shalt not steal. And the Bible doesn't say, thou shalt not steal unless thou art the government. It also says we should not envy. Socialism is built on envy, envy of the wealth of others.
Socialism is a milder and gentler form of communism. Both systems claim that we have a right to what you own. In fact, you really don't own it. We own it. We as the state. The socialists will not say it as dramatically as the communists that say you have no private property. The socialists say we have a right to your private property as much as we can possibly get through government decree. Historic Christianity turned it around the other way and said the individual has a right to his property. The state has a right to part of it. What we need to understand is that if you want to have socialism and you want to care for the poor, you need to begin with your own pocketbook first. If you care about the poor so much, it should come out of your pocket, and it should. But if you're not willing to give any of your money, but you're forcing laws to make everybody else give theirs, that's a form of theft, and it's wrong.